Do you like a nice adventure, a nice treasure hunt in the vein of Indiana Jones? Kind of. Well, that's what the writer of this week's Quantum Leap is hoping for. This is the latest episode, The Family Treasure. And let's get into my review, my talk about this one. Let's do it. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to this review for the latest episode of Quantum Leap. The Family Treasure. Yes, in this episode, Ben leaps into the body of Nadia Moloch, a Lebanese Christian. It's 1953 and we are in Texas. And this is the youngest of three daughters whose father has recently passed away. Their father was a bit of a treasure hunter. He lived life to the fullest in a sense, in that he was always off out on escapades, hunting for treasures, having adventures, but all the while kind of leaving his family to just get on with it. He's recently passed away, like I said, and we come in at the reading of his will, and each of his daughters are left with a little keepsake, shall we say. Nothing of any worth, just something small. And Nadia, the young girl that Ben has leapt into, she's been gifted a boat in a glass bottle, which actually accidentally gets knocked out of her hands by their lawyer. And when it's on the floor, it comes to pass that there's a little bit rolled about of paper in there. She opens it up, and lo and behold, it's part of a treasure map. And each of these things that they've been given contain a part of a treasure map until they have 4 elements of it. And putting it together, it points them towards a treasure. And it is the treasure of San Patricio. A legendary treasure down in Mexico, and they go on the hunt for it. They go on a journey for it after having a little bit of a squabble as to whether they should or not. But they all decide to go because in the original timeline, what happened was that the daughter known as Dean or Dina heads off on her own to find it and never returns. There's another sister as well, and her name is Sarah. So they all go on this together. Back in the normal time, Addison and Tom have decided to marry. If you remember at the end of the last episode, the engagement occurs and they're marrying. They're marrying today in the timeline of the episode, this very evening. They're just going to go out and quickly do it, and everyone is invited. Ian's in a little bit of trouble in that he has to get in touch with Rachel because this code that had been programmed in, there's issues there, and he wants to get to the bottom of that. But Rachel, her boss comes to find out that there is a mole within the group, within their team, and he starts searching for said mole. So anyway, back in the past, this treasure hunt. They go on this treasure hunt. They go to this small village, a small town in the middle of Mexico that, because of a dam, has kind of dried up and there's not much there. But a wealth of treasure hunters have come through, and they see a photo of their father on the wall by this well, and they go and find the well, and after following these cryptic clues, they head down into the well, into the tunnels, where they come across a key. They find a key, but then they come to realise that they have actually been double-crossed by their lawyer, and he's down there with them. There's a bit of a cave-in. He gets killed, and they go hunting for this treasure themselves. And they do find it. They do find it in a church, and they have to unlock this kind of small trap door on the floor with these over-exaggerated sound effects. And once they've unlocked it, they open it up, the small box comes out, but at the same time it opens a floodgate to the nearby dam, and a small flurry of water comes gushing down, and they're in a panic, but it's not a lot. The budget could only sort of stretch to maybe a wheelbarrow's worth of water. Not a lot whatsoever. But what the treasure actually is at that point is it's bringing the family together. They have to come together, these three sisters, and instead of fighting against one another, they have to kind of join forces. And the episode ends because it's 1950. Ben writes a letter to Hannah. Yes, this is a Hannah-less episode. He writes a letter to Hannah and gives it to Sarah, the sister, to post after 1970. Whether that comes to pass, but it's warning Hannah that her boyfriend, her husband, Josh, is going to die, but it's easily curable, the problem with him. And that's it. And then at the very end, we get Rachel and her boss. They come into the Quantum Leap headquarters because of what is going on. But the family do find a treasure, but, you know, that's not really the story. Anyway, so this episode comes at us written by Shakira. And Shakira actually wrote episode 12 of season 1, Let Them Play, which was a very sort of transgender heavy episode. And this episode itself leans into that also. It's 1953, but one of the sisters, Dina, who wants to be known as Dean, it turns out that she's uncomfortable in her body and she kind of wants to transition into a man. And this kind of leads Ben to give her a story about a friend of his, meaning Ian, and try and empower her a bit in this journey of hers. So, yeah, like I said, the episode Let Them Play was very heavy-handed with the same kind of messaging as what this episode is here. Like I said, it's 1953, and there wouldn't have been many a person back then going through this, not like today. I'm not going to really say anything more than that, but as soon as I saw who the writer was, I kind of knew what to expect from the episode or what elements it would contain. Now, I don't want to get into that. I really don't, because I upset a lot of people with my thoughts and my criticisms and all this. But needless to say, the show has Ian in it every episode. It doesn't really need to be shoved anymore. The Ian stuff is fine and enough. But anyway, but as episodes go, like I said, it takes a step back from the Hannah elements, and I knew that was going to happen. It kind of makes sense to come back to that an episode or two down the line from here to close up with that. My dad was sat watching it with me. Now, he remembers Quantum Leap from back in the day, but he's never seen this series of Quantum Leap, and his words were, what a load of rubbish. He's like in his late 80s, do you know what I mean? And it really does bug me when people say that, when people just, oh, what a load of rubbish. I don't know, because I've spent 45 minutes sat there watching it, taking notes on it, and he comes out with that. Nothing more than that, you know, be a bit more constructive in what you've got to say. As episodes go, there's nice camaraderie between the three leads of this episode, Ben and the two sisters. But, you know, visually, it's quite a boring episode. You know, you got a massive big speech in the middle that just kind of stops proceedings, completely just halts the episode in its tracks. So for me, very sort of, I've seen worse episodes, very middle of the road episodes, shall we say. Aesthetically dull, and yeah, it's more the stuff in the modern day that I took interest in this episode than the stuff set in the past with these kind of Indiana Jones-esque kind of traps. And yeah, not the best one for me, but what more can I say? You win some, you lose some, don't you? Anyway, so again, in the comments down below, let me know your thoughts on this episode, whether it worked for you, whether it didn't work for you. I don't really want to get into the transgender debate and the whole sort of messaging and that these episodes like this have. You know, I watch things like this to get away from reality. Yeah. Stuff like this should be left to your soap operas and things like that, more akin to you know, I don't know. That's just my thoughts anyway. But enough from me. I'll see you on the next one. Yeah, I will. Next week. Take care all and goodbye.